I will never forget, it was February 11th, 2018. And I had just gotten off of a 12-hour shift. I knew I had to preach for our church service the next day. I went to bed and I said, I'm just gonna get 3 hours of sleep and I'll be okay. And so I went to bed, and the next thing I knew, I had the sensation to get up and go to the bathroom. And I remember I literally swung around, put my feet on the floor. I was in our guest bedroom because I didn't want to disturb my wife. I started walking to the door and I extend my right hand. And when I reach out my right hand to turn the knob, it was literally like a bomb went off. I flew in the air. Again, I flew in the air, I flew back, and I hit the ground. And when I hit the ground, Sid, I literally was laying on my back and I opened my eyes, and the first thing I heard, literally, heaven had broken into my room. Literally, the atmosphere of heaven was there. The glory of God was in my room. I heard angels singing. I heard string instruments. And the first thing I noticed was the peace of God that filled the room. This was a real, tangible peace that could be felt. You feel like you could hug it. And it was literally like the air molecules were charged with the peace of God. And so I sit up and I look to my door, to my right, where I was about to open, and I see Jesus standing there, but his back is to me. He has a white robe on, he has long Jewish gray hair, and he has copper toned skin. And immediately I processed that that's Jesus. And I knew his presence, I knew it was him, and I'm just thinking, and so I call out and I say, Jesus. And immediately, Sid, the first thing I noticed, it didn't come out of my mouth, it came out of my heart and my head. And when I called out to him, he turned around and he reached out his right hand to me. And I reached his hand out and I said, thank you. And he looked at me and he said, I love you. And I let go of his hand, and he's about to turn around as if he's going to go through the door. And I started almost getting anxious because I didn't want him to leave. And I was completely cognizant. I thought it was as physical as what me and you are talking right here. But I didn't know if I was in my body or outside of my body, just like Paul says. And so literally, I get anxious and I say, Jesus, don't leave. Again, from my heart and from my head. And I actually sit up to grab his arm. And I grab his arm and I feel a body, I feel muscle tonation. And he turns around and he kind of smiles and he says, I love you. A second time, more affirming, more convicting. And then he says, I'll be back. And he proceeds to leave. And Sid, another thing that I got out of the encounter was the humility of Jesus. Because, you know, when me and you are ready to leave, we're like ready to leave. And if somebody grabs us, we're gonna be like, yo, let go of me. But he has so much understanding and compassion and humility. And when I came out, I eventually went to the scripture that said, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I'm meek and lowly at heart. I felt the meekness of Jesus. I felt the lowliness. And when he proceeded to walk through the door, I appeared back in my bed. I never walked to it.